Hello, and welcome to my tutorial on how to set up a wireless network on a SonicWall. In this tutorial, I will show you how to add a guest network and a corporate network. Here is a small list of things we need to configure first. A wireless LAN interface, 2 custom zones, 2 sub-interfaces, and a virtual access point. Okay, so let's begin. As you can see, we have several interfaces here that are currently unassigned. For this tutorial, I'm going to use X3 for my wireless network. Choose Configure and assign it a zone. In this case, it's going to be WLAN zone. Next, we need to assign it an IP address. I'm going to use 172.16.31.1. Subnet mask is already by default a Class C subnet mask. Next, we're going to choose the SonicPoints limit that is currently used in your environment. For this scenario, I am only using one SonicPoint, so therefore I'm going to choose 2. Leaving a comment is optional, as well as management options and user login. Next, click OK. Click OK again, and click OK once more. Okay, now that you have added in the WLAN interface, we now have to add in the 2 custom zones, one for guests, one for corporate users. To do so, let's choose zones on the left-hand side. Here we have the listings of all our zones. Next, let's click Add. First, I'm going to add in the guest network. So I will give it a name. Security type must be wireless. As you can see, we have the here to enable the security services. For this tutorial, I'm going to leave them unchecked. Go ahead and click OK. Next, I need to add in the corporate network. And again, choose wireless. Click OK. Alright, now that you have added in the 2 custom zones, we next have to add in the 2 sub-interfaces. Let's go over to the network interfaces and click Add Interface. We will now assign the zone. In this case, we'll choose Guest as our first zone. We'll give it a VLAN tag ID. In this case, I'm going to choose VLAN 5. Parent interface is X3 because that is what our WLAN resides off of. IP assignment will leave as static, and IP address for this subnet is going to be 192.168.5.1. And I chose that on purpose so that if I am going to be using a layer 2 switch to manage my VLAN traffic, it makes it easier for me to know that VLAN 5 is associated to subnet 5 as well. As default, I will leave this as a Class C subnet mask, and I will choose no SonicPoints for this subnet, as well as no management will I enable or user login. It is optional. Go ahead and click OK. Click OK again, and click OK once more. Now, as you can see, we have VLAN 5 assigned to the guest network for subnet 192.168.5, and let's add the corporate network next. For corporate network, I'm going to choose 10. Once again, parent interface X3, and I will give my subnet 192.168.10.1. leaving my subnet mask as is, and again choosing no SonicPoints for this, and leaving everything else default. Go ahead and click OK. OK once more, and last. Excellent. Now that you have added in the 2 sub-interfaces for your guest and corporate network, we now need to add in the virtual access point. And to do so, let's choose SonicPoint. Then Virtual Access Point, and under Virtual Access Points, click the Add button. Here I will add my SSID as guest and assign that to my VLAN ID of 5 as I did earlier in the sub interfaces. Here we have the option to suppress or not broadcast the SSID, but I want to broadcast it, so I'm going to leave it as is. Here under the Advanced tab we have the option to give it authentication, but since this is my guest network, I'm going to leave this as open. Let's click Add again, and this time this is going to be for our corporate network, so I'm just going to leave it as corporate for my SSID, as well assign it the VLAN 10 ID for this network. I'm going to also broadcast it, and under the Advanced tab, because this is my corporate network, I want to have this secured, so I'm going to choose WPA2 pre-shared key and unicast cipher and multicast cipher. I'm going to leave this as auto and give it a secure passphrase. Click OK. Great! Now that you have added in your virtual access points for guest and corporate, we must add them to a group. To add them to a group, under virtual access point groups, let's choose Add Group. This group must have a name. I will name this VAP Group. I will then choose Add All and click OK. Now that you have configured your virtual access point group, we need to apply this to the SonicPoint provisioning profile. Let's click SonicPoints on the left. Here we have our SonicPoint N provisioning profiles, one for SonicPoint N and one for SonicPoint NDR. The top profile applies to the NE and NI models. Let's click Configure on the right. Here we apply the virtual access point group that we created shortly ago. Next, let's click on the Advanced tab and select the beacon interval. By default it's set to 100, but in this instance we're going to change it to 400 because we're broadcasting more than one SSID. Click OK. Alright, now that you've configured your provisioning profile, let's connect the SonicPoint to the firewall. For this tutorial, I'm directly connecting my SonicPoint NE into X3 interface. Here at Network Interfaces X3, we will see the status link change. Okay, now we have a status link of 1000 megabits full duplex. Next, click on SonicPoints. Here, we do not see the SonicPoints I've provisioned yet. Let's synchronize the SonicPoints. Here, you see the SonicPoints scanning, and next will become operational. And there we have it. The SonicPoint is currently operational. Our next step is to connect to either the guest or corporate network. Let's try that now. Okay, let's click on Station Status here. This page will show you information when a client is connected. I'm going to demonstrate by connecting to my guest network. After you have connected, click the refresh button. I now have an assigned IP address, shows my MAC address, as well as that I'm connected on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency on the guest network. Currently I'm not passing any data, and my signal strength is excellent.